welcome to another episode of Open Studio right here on your favorite channel, CTV. My name is Eugenia Naidu, and I'll be keeping you company for the next half an hour. So please do stay tuned. In today's show, we will be discussing Klinefelter syndrome, which is a rare genetic condition that affects 1 in 500 men. And in studio, I am joined by sufferer Stepen Malherbe and author of the book, Living with My Ex. Stepen, welcome, and thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
But firstly, what exactly is Klinefelter syndrome for those of us who are not aware, as I believe it is the most common chromosome abnormality in humans?
Klinefelter syndrome is, we are born with an extra female chromosome. Females are born with XX, men are born with XY, and we are born with an XXY. So it makes us the 47 chromosomes as opposed to the 46 chromosomes.
Okay. And what are the causes, or how does this condition come about?
Doctors don't really know what causes it. It's in the stage of the fetus, the egg actually splits, and doctors have no idea where it comes from.
Okay, wow. So how's it picked up then? How's it diagnosed? And can it be picked up during pregnancy, such as Down syndrome?
Sometimes it is picked up. Probably the biggest problem that happens is that too often it becomes, if it doesn't get picked up in the early stages, it very much goes undiagnosed. Mm-hmm. And sorry, I'm just
no problem, no problem, no problem.
No, so they pick it up either through a DNA, through saliva, or pick it up through a blood test, mm-hmm. through a chromosomal test.
Okay. And at what age would this be done? Can you do it at any age?
They can do it when they're babies in infancy, and often what happens, like in my case, they pick it up in a much later, in our teens.
Okay.
You can pick it up.
So the test is quite safe for babies to undergo as well.
Yes.
Okay. Apparently the symptoms can go undiagnosed for years. So please talk us through some of the early warning signs or the symptoms.
Often, and I use myself as in the case that I was 17 when I was diagnosed. Mm-hmm. I never went through puberty. I was 17, I was 5'1". I didn't develop like other boys did, and have facial hair and underarm hair and any of that. Okay. My voice hadn't broken. And my mother always picked up that there was something amiss and took me off to various doctors until one particular doctor picked up that there was something missing, and then sent me off to an endocrinologist, who then picked up that there was an extra chromosome.
Wow, okay. So is it treatable, and how affordable is treatment, since there is no cure? Am I right?
Yeah. Treatment is normally testosterone. Mm-hmm. In my case, I was given testosterone at age, because really what happened from my early teens, going into puberty, my body wasn't developing any testosterone. Mm-hmm. So I lost out over a couple of years. So at the age of 17, they gave me testosterone, which took me from 5'1" to 6 foot to what I am today.
Okay.
So the testosterone is pretty much what brings you to what you should be. Our bodies don't produce enough testosterone, or often in some cases no testosterone.
Okay. And is it only testosterone the only treatment, or is there any other forms of treatment?
Well, as far as to my knowledge, testosterone is the only thing at the moment.
Okay. Yeah. And from what age would that be safe to then, what's the normal?
I think they normally...
that you get boys onto it then?
Look, I'm not a doctor, so I'm quoting as an individual here. And normally, safe age, I would say, is at the start of puberty.
Okay.
If
so
they have
14.
14. If they've diagnosed that there is Klinefelters, if they've picked it up from an early stage, I would normally say that would be safe.
Okay. And just in terms of how affordable is treatment?
I have an injection once a month. I have to have testosterone for the rest of my life. Okay. I picked up osteoporosis at 36. Mm-hmm. I had the bone structure of a 75-year-old man. And so I'm on testosterone for the rest of my life. I paid roughly about 50 Rand a month for a jab of testosterone, but the testosterone itself, it costs close to about 80 Rand.
And where would you get this?
Normally
you go to your normal GP?
No, normally you have to either get a GP that gives it to you. You can't have it done in the arm. It's normally done through the backside.
Okay. So no sitting for the next half an hour?
No.
Okay. All right. What are the health risks involved? I know you mentioned you're an osteoporosis patient. I know there's also the risk of developing breast cancer.
Yeah, with Klinefelter syndrome, what actually happens is because of the extra female chromosome, we've got more breast tissue, and we can, at later stages, we can develop possibly breast cancer. And as I said early on, I've picked up osteoporosis, so that can be a problem as well from a breaking bones point of view. Pretty much everything that women have, we have similar things, as in the breast, can pick up breast cancer.
Okay. And you mentioned you had tissue, right? Breast.
I had my breast checked out 2 years ago at Klinefelter Hospital because I've picked up 1 or 2 lumps. Those lumps are not muscular lumps. They're breast tissue. They did a biopsy. It's not cancerous.
Okay.
And I've got to just keep tabs on what's happening there.
Okay. All right. So that was 2 years ago.
2 years ago, yeah.
Okay. And now you just have to monitor and
So then
is it like really, do you have to do a self-examination like women would do for breast cancer?
Yeah, very much so, because I was going to say, well, we can't go for PAP.
Yes.
There's not enough.
A mammogram.
Mammogram.
Mammogram, yeah.
There's not enough tissue there.
Okay, so you would just do a general...
Just normally feel around the breast and
Yeah.
feel if there's any lumps or any bumps or anything that feels out of the ordinary.
Okay. And from what age would you need to start checking for that? Is it
Well, in my case, I only picked this particular breast's lumps in that were only happened to me about 4 years ago. So up until that time, I had no problems. I need to just say that in my case, I have like a 21-day period, as opposed to women having a 28-day period.
Okay.
And
21 days.
Yeah, and every 21 days I have to have an injection. And at the end of my 21-day cycle, in effect, starts to wear off. I become very sensitive, very much like a female would before you have your 28-day period. I have headaches for 2 days. My breasts hurt like hell.
Really?
Very emotional, very sensitive, and then I have an injection. And I become very aggressive.
So then you take your testosterone injection, and then it like just puts you back.
Well, I sort of go back to probably the downside in my case is that I find I become very aggressive.
Is it?
Tend to have very short temper.
Okay. And in terms of the osteoporosis, are you on medication for that now? What's
Just
that
the testosterone.
When did you develop that osteoporosis?
36 years old.
36 years old. Okay. And so you're on medication for that?
I'm on testosterone for the rest of my life, but I also take calcium, magnesium as a supplement. The testosterone just really stops the osteoporosis. It doesn't take it away. So it stops it from getting any worse.
Yes. Okay. So it just keeps it in check.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Now I know you've written a book, Living with My Ex, and I assume that your personal journey is what prompted you to pen the book. Please tell us more about it.
Sure. Writing this came about 2006. I was in Scotland on holiday and just felt that I needed to, it's all very well having this, and there's cases out there, one needs to tell the story, one needs to expose this. The problem with Klinefelter syndrome is that nobody knows about it. People know about diabetes, people know about autism, people know about ADD, but nobody knows anything about Klinefelter syndrome. So writing a book about my own personal journey just pretty much puts it out there and what we go through.
Yeah, okay. Just tell us more about your personal journey. I know you said it was at 17 when you noticed, you know. How did it all unfold? What was the first, you know, because obviously you're looking at yourself in the mirror and you're saying, but hey, I need to start shaving, but I'm not getting the facial hair. You know, and then who did you approach? How did you bring about the conversation? Did you then go to your mom and say, you know, I'm a bit concerned?
No, I was probably like any other young adult, young boy. I knew I was always smaller. I knew that I was somewhat different to every other kid.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed all my friends at 14, their voices were breaking, they were developing more hair.
Mm.
I just thought I was just slow, it would eventually catch up.
Yeah.
My mom was the one who constantly pushed every doctor to say there was something wrong.
Okay.
I remember overhearing a conversation with my dad and saying to my dad, ask Stephen, I'm sure there's something wrong. And he came to me and said, how are you feeling? And I thought, what am I supposed to say?
Mm.
But no, I never felt any different, really. I mean, I was short. I was 5'1". Most of my friends had gone up to 5'8", 6 foot.
Mm-hmm.
But once they put me onto the medication, the testosterone, well, geez, this is what we have today.
Yes, okay.
Felt a lot more confident. One thing about the testosterone, it gives you a lot more confidence.
Okay. And how did your parents, I mean, I know you said your mom pushed for it, so she obviously was very supportive. But your dad, how did he, you know, and siblings and family and friends, you know, how did that,
You know, difficult to say. I wasn't really that much affected with my brother and sister.
Mm-hmm.
When this came about, I'm saying something from a long time ago. I was diagnosed with this 40 years ago. And not much has changed in 40 years.
Mm.
But talking about it then, I didn't want to talk much about it. I mean, today I want to tell the world about it.
Yes.
I think my mom was relieved that she'd finally found that there was something, she knew there was something amiss, and she'd finally found that this is what it was.
Okay. Stephen, I'm going to ask you to hold on to that thought, and we need to go for a quick break. So definitely do stay tuned, please, because we'll definitely pick up the conversation after this quick break. Tuned to CTV, and the program is Open Studio with me, Yugenji Naidu. If you've just tuned in today's show, we are discussing Klinefelter syndrome, which is a rare genetic condition that affects 1 in 500 to 1,000 men. And in studio, I'm still joined by sufferer Stepen Malherbe, and author of the book Living with My Ex. Now, just before the break, Stepen was telling us more about his personal journey and about the book that he's written, Living with My Ex. Stepen, you said that your parents and your family were very supportive and so forth. Let's just pick it up from there.
My family were great. I must just mention to you that where it's affected me, something's just come to my thought now. Where it's affected me more is I've had 2 marriages.
Okay.
My first marriage was affected by it because the one thing about having Klinefelter syndrome, and I haven't brought it up, is that we pick up osteoporosis, we have the problem with our breasts and possible cancer, but we're also sterile, we can't have children. So it caused a lot of problems when I was younger, and everybody's getting married, you're going into that, and then discovering you can't have children. It causes untold complications of it because we maybe been conditioned or to be brought up with a little white picket fence on having children, so we don't quite have the complete family.
Yes.
And it caused a lot of problems. I must say something else that there's a part of us, there's a part of me that I get broody at times. I know it sounds, for a man it's different. I mean, I often find, even today, I'm 56 years old, that there's times when I walk through the shopping center and I've always wanted a daughter.
Yes.
And I look at kids and I find myself getting a bit weepy, and the guys are looking at me and thinking I'm probably a bloody pedophile. So it's something that doesn't go away, and that's something that's always there, and I think that's because of the extra female chromosome.
Just coming back, your partner, did she know that you had Klinefelter syndrome before entering into the marriage?
My first wife did, yes.
Okay, and she was fine with it? She knew that you were sterile, you wouldn't be able to have kids?
Yeah, she was fine at the time, but afterwards, no. And it's just probably one of the biggest reasons why we got divorced, because she wanted kids.
Okay, and adoption wasn't an option?
We tried, but adoption is very difficult. It's a lot of money, there are a lot of money involved. They've got to check both parties are working.
Okay.
We tried it for a while because my first wife was Cypriot.
Okay.
We were talking about artificial insemination, but I think because of her religious beliefs or whatever, didn't go any further on that.
Okay. Are there any misconceptions regarding Klinefelter syndrome? And if yes, please elaborate.
Misconceptions, I'm trying to get my head around. The only thing I find about Klinefelter syndrome is that it's something that should be out there. It should be a lot more out there. We have crossovers, like you'll have the attention deficit disorder. You have kids with Klinefelter syndrome are often very quiet, and you have similar things. People who have autism have something similar. When you talk to us, you have to make the eye contact with us, otherwise we just wander off somewhere else.
Okay.
And that's, to me, and trying to make an awareness about this. This should be something that people should know. Klinefelters.
Okay.
Somewhere, but misconceptions. I think when people find out that their child have got this, that it's such a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. You're having a boy that's Klinefelter syndrome only affects males, boys, males. In a lot of ways, I look at this and I think that you've got a special child because you've got a child that's sensitive, caring. A lot of times people ask me the question, are we gay? No, we're not. Having an extra female chromosome is not a gay thing. I don't know what causes men to be gay, but it's not necessarily the extra chromosome. So I would think if you've got a son who's got this, you should be proud of it because you're going to have a son that's going to grow up very different.
Very
loving. Sensitive, very loving, very much so.
And the world could use more sensitive men.
Very much so.
Especially in the violent society we live in today.
Very much so, yeah.
Okay. In terms of documented research, is there anything documented or latest findings regarding Klinefelter syndrome?
When I was diagnosed, it was 1 in 500 to 1 in 1,000 boys. I went to Australia 2 years ago. I met with a doctor who wrote a thesis on this. It's now come down to 1 in 450 boys, which is quite scary because there can be people in the same room here that don't even know they got it.
So you said it's 1 in now?
It's 1 in 450 to 500 boys. Yeah.
Wow.
Often what happens when it gets picked up later in life, the only time it gets picked up later in life is that when couple come together and they want to have children, and often what happens is there's a problem, and you can find, I spoke to somebody in America who's now been diagnosed at 61.
Whoa.
And he's been wanting to have children all his life. I went and had checked, and that's when they normally do a chromosomal test. They find you're sterile. The moment they're sterile, that's when they look across to see if there's something else that's causing it. That's how Klinefelter's comes up.
Okay. And off the top of your head, I mean, just trying to bring it locally, do you have any idea how many men in South Africa, or how prevalent it is in South Africa?
I have no idea. You know, when I wrote the book, I'm in contact with 11 people worldwide, which is really, it's a joke. Small. It's not even a drop in the ocean.
Yeah.
I've got a website out there, and I've placed an ad out there, but there's something about the syndrome that I'm confused. I don't know if confused is the right word, that people don't want to talk about it. And when I placed an ad in the paper, I've got 3 people that have contacted me, and of those 3 that have contacted me, I've only met one.
Wow.
I don't know what
quite the response.
I don't know what it is about Klinefelters, and as I said to you early on, I think that there might be parents have shame, that they don't want people to know that their son has an extra female chromosome.
Yes.
And yet people are quite happy when their kids have got other problems out there. But for some reason, Klinefelter syndrome, nobody wants to talk about it.
Okay. I'm aware that you're busy establishing a support group. How's that coming along? And what are the aims of that group? What do you hope to achieve?
Support group at the moment, I'm hoping to, because with Klinefelter syndrome, not everybody, we all have similar patterns of language problems, concentration problems, but not all of us, in my case, I have the problems with my breast, but I might talk to somebody else who might be 48 years old and may not have the same symptoms. But there's a lot of similarities to language and the concentration. To all the Klinefelters people that I've met, I know that we're all sterile. The whole idea of having the support group is to try and get people together to compare notes and to, I can't say really pre-warn, we'll be running for the hills. But
I suppose just to get the conversation started.
Get the conversation going. You know, the more, by us having a support group and getting the word out there, my aim is to eventually get that in doctors' rooms, that when Mrs. Smith takes her son because he's got concentration problems or something at school, often this particular syndrome goes undiagnosed. When parents take their kids to the doctor, and sadly, my niece has just qualified at Wits University as a doctor, and she said they covered literally 5 minutes of this particular syndrome in 5 years. So unless you're studying genetics or endocrinology or anything on that, it just goes.
Brushed.
Doctors don't, it's not the first thing that comes to the party. The first thing that may come to the party is, well, your son has got ADD or ADHD. So they don't even think about, well, let's test for...
So it's misdiagnosed also?
Often.
Okay.
That is probably... So
especially in younger boys, like at school level, I'm thinking?
No, very like
much you're probably just a naughty boy at school.
Yeah, very much
because you're acting out.
Well, you know, if I look at it in my time, is that when I was at school, I mean, I failed twice at school. I think they eventually pushed me through school because I would have stayed there for the rest of my days. And it wasn't... We're not stupid people. We just can't... Our wiring is just somewhat different to your average boys.
Yes.
I know with myself sometimes when people talk to me, the information comes in and it somehow juggles in my brain, and then something completely different comes out.
Okay.
I'm also often known to offend people, but not with intention. One thing I'll say about Klinefelter syndrome is that we tend to tell things as it is. And we don't have many friends with this.
That's unfortunate, because since you are such loving people. How or who can the viewers contact for further information? People
can get me on my email. I can give you the details.
Please do.
It's Stepen, STEPHEN, xxy@gmail.com. Otherwise, they can go onto our website, which is www.kssa.co.za. Alternatively, they can get me on 021-559-8710.
Awesome. In closing, your message to the viewers or even those who might be affected by this condition?
We're very special people. That's, you know what, that's my message to everybody out there. Don't be ashamed of this. We're special people.
Okay. Thank you. Unfortunately, time is the enemy, Stepen, but thank you so much for joining us today, as your time is highly appreciated and sharing this important information with the viewers. I really do hope we've managed to lift the lid on this little known disorder, and that people are more aware about the symptoms, the diagnosis, and treatment. We wish you all the best in your future endeavors, and may the support group grow from strength to strength.
Thank you very much.
Remember, if you'd like to be in the hot seat, you can simply do so by sending an email to openstudio@capetowntv.org. Until we meet again, have a fantastic afternoon. Be safe. From me, Eugenio Naidu. Ciao, ciao.